if he coming into the year, I was optimistic. I thought this guy was going to lead the team in homers, right? We can go back and check the tape. I'll admit it. That hasn't come to fruition. He's struggled the last 2 months. But I'm telling you, this team will be better if this guy's in the lineup and is hitting. The team will be better if he is in the lineup and is hitting. As great as Mike Tauchman has been, as awesome as the summer of Mike Tauchman has been, imagine if we get the summer of Mike Tauchman, the autumn of Mike Tauchman, the October of Mike Tauchman, and a resurgence of Seiya Suzuki. Like, then we really can get excited about this lineup, this offense, and everything. Because Seiya, he showed last year what kind of hitter he can be. Maybe the power isn't there yet. Maybe that's going to take more time. Am I disappointed that he's probably not even going to hit 20 homers this year? Yes. But if he starts hitting in terms of just getting on base, giving quality at bats like he did tonight, then that's better than what we've seen the last 2 months. Tonight's game was probably his best game in a long time. I don't remember. Like, okay, against the Reds, he hit a homer off a position player. Cool. That was fun. All right. But this, like, what he did tonight, I am praying to the baseball gods that whatever water he drank tonight before the game and during the game, feed that guy some more of that water. He needs that water. I'm telling you, whatever it is. If he's got to wear the same underwear on Friday, I don't care. Do it. Because the lineup, the team is better when Seiya Suzuki is in it and is performing. Yep. If you get that on top of the unbelievable season that we're getting out of Mike Tauchman, this lineup is unreal. It would be unreal. And then you really can move Candelario over to third, put Bellinger at center or at first base, Tauchman in center, and then Suzuki and right. That to me is the ideal lineup, even though I'd rather have Bellinger in center because there's more value from his defense in center. But as far as offense, that's the ideal lineup for me. And that's not full-on hate to Nick Madrigal or anything, but there's more power there. And it's just a very deep lineup. You really then could bat Yan Gomes ninth and feel good about the rest of that lineup if Seiya Suzuki starts hitting. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm at with Seiya.
Yeah, with Seiya. I mean, but you could tell, like, even out, you didn't have to look at the numbers to tell, like, where he was, in his at the plate over the last couple weeks. Like, he's had some good games at the plate in there. He seemed to have been fine in the outfield. But at the plate, you could just tell, like, he was kind of in his head. Ross kind of used the term, like, in between to describe Seiya. And I think it was on Saturday when he kind of discussed sitting Seiya for a little bit. And he didn't commit to a timeline. I didn't expect it to be a long-term thing. He's back in the starting lineup today. Would that be 4 days later?
Yeah.
4 or 5 games, like whatever it is, because he did that Saturday morning. So he sat for 4 games pretty much, at least wasn't starting for 4 games. Maybe that gives him enough time to figure out what was going wrong and just focus on being more consistent in batting practice and the cage, whatever. I liken it to what happened with Morel earlier in the season. They got swept in Anaheim, but he didn't play that whole series because he had been struggling himself for a while going into that series. He sat, kind of just worked on things behind the scenes, and he came back and he's been a much better hitter, much more consistent. That was 2 months ago now, right? Seiya, we'll see where this goes. This is absolutely like a game you wanted to see from Seiya.
He was the big pro of this game.
Oh, for sure. Like, this was the game you wanted to see from Seiya coming off just the struggles he's had. Yeah. I'm looking at it since coming into today, since the start of June, he had a 588 OPS. He was hitting 280, but he was hitting 213, on base 280, the slug of 309. So yeah, 588 OPS. It wasn't good, and that's a large sample size. But I'm with you in that if this team is going to do anything, if this team can make a really good stretch run, maybe make some noise in the playoffs if they get there, like, they need Seiya to be good. Mike Tauchman's been great in filling in for whatever role he's needed to. Cody Bellinger's been one of the best hitters on the planet for over a month now. And those two guys are helping make up for it because even while Seiya struggled since the beginning of June, like the team really hasn't. The team has been in a pretty solid stretch, especially since the start of that San Francisco Giants series. They've been in a great stretch, even while Seiya struggled. So, like, obviously, you give credit to the rest of the team for picking up a little bit of that slack all around, putting together good offensive performances. But Seiya's your big money guy. Seiya's your guy that at least the front office and there's the Cubs in general are hoping is your right fielder for the next. You're starting right fielder, everyday right fielder for the next 3 years after this. And you've seen stretches of how good he can be at the plate. You saw the beginning of his career last year. You saw, I want to say, like his September last year was really good. He's had some stretches. His May was pretty good this year. Like he's had stretches. It just hasn't been put together for, the long haul.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe that break is it. Like we'll never know. We won't, or not that we'll never know. We won't know until we kind of get to the end of the season and look back at what he's been able to do coming off this break that Ross gave him. But this could be it, right? Home run, a triple. Like this could be the kind of game.
He lifted the ball today.
Right. This could be the
he
game
had
that
one
he needed.
ground ball. The one out he made was a one ground ball.
This may be the game that he needed to just show himself, that get that confidence back, know that he's in the right place. Small break. Obviously, it's not like he got a whole IL stint or anything like that. Like he had a small break to just kind of take a breath, see if he can work on some things behind the scenes. And he comes out and puts together a game like this. You obviously need to see it continue. But it was a good sign from Seiya Suzuki to have this kind of game. And the Cubs, to be at their best, they're going to need Seiya Suzuki to be good. They're going to need good Seiya Suzuki to be at their best these last 2 months of the season. A little less than 2 months, but you know what I mean? Yeah. They're going to need him to be at his best because a really good Seiya Suzuki takes a lot of pressure off of the rest of the lineup to perform.
Takes a lot of pressure off guys like Bellinger and Happ, especially.
Bellinger and Happ, Tauchman, right?
Like for how long they put Seiya Suzuki batting fourth all season, that showed how much confidence that David Ross had in him. So if he starts hitting, he's going to find himself back at the, in the middle of that order again. And I want that for him, and I want that for the Cubs. I think we saw him in certain stretches last season. I understand that a lot of those games didn't matter in the second half, but his second half of last season was phenomenal. There was a reason that I, predicted or thought that he could lead this team in homers. He finished last season really well. The oblique really set him back going in this year. He had a hot May though, but then just things really fell apart here in June and July. So I'm hoping his August is something. And I tweeted about this, whether it was last week or maybe the week before, I can't remember, but I was saying something along the lines of like, they need to give Seiya like the Starlin Castro treatment. In 2015, Starlin Castro really struggled offensively the first half of the year. Then second half of the year, he's still kind of struggled. And then they benched him for like 5 games. Then they moved him to second base and gave Addison Russell a shortstop position. And and Castro took off from there. Now, you're not going to move Seiya to a new position, but I'm just saying, I'm hoping that this type of break that they gave him allows him to take off now. Because like this game is such a mental sport. Hopefully he's cleared his head and he's just, again, trying to get that confidence back. And again, like we both have already said, they need him to produce for this team to really be as good as it can be.